The Walt Disney Company is making major moves behind the scenes, restructuring parts of their Disney Parks division, and it has some scratching their heads instead, saying, wait a minute, we may have a new CEO announcement and someone we did not expect to win the role. Today, we'll dive in and tell you who it could be as the next head honcho of the House of Mouse. Hello, folks, and welcome back. It is a joy to have you joining us, where we continue to keep you ahead of the culture curve. Explaining entertainment is what we do. Today, we're diving into Disney, deep into the halls of Burbank, its very self. Folks, as we do, all we ask is that you click the like button and get ready for a PhD level, no tuition required, you're on scholarship, a PhD level of knowledge when it comes to the house that Walt built. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. Out of Deadline, Anthony D'Alessandro has this one. Disney brings together in-house creative agencies under Chief Brand Officer Asad Ayaz. Now, this is not the kind of article that you would originally read and say to yourself, probably, this means something for the Disney CEO position. But we know some things, and we want to bring it to you and let you see what we see. It says, exclusive. As Disneyland heads into its 70th anniversary and Walt Disney Studios readies for the summer box office season with Thunderdolts opening on Friday, Disney Experience's chairman Josh D'Amaro and Disney's chief brand officer Asad Ayaz have informed staffers that two of the entertainment conglomerate's in-house creative agencies, Yellow Shoes and The Hive, two groups that most people have never heard of outside of Disney, will come together under Ayaz to dovetail brand and experience campaigns across Disney's various consumer touchpoints. Now, this is a very interesting way to start the paragraph and start the article, because I don't know what the box office has to do with this, but it's couched as if that this has something to do with summer box office stuff. That doesn't seem to be true. Reading on, it says Yellow Shoes, the in-house creative agency for Disney's parks, resorts, cruise ships, and other experiences, will continue to be led by Helen Pock, Senior Vice President, Creative Marketing Design Content. Okay, well then, okay, so it's still the same then, right? No, hang tight. She will now report to both Ayaz and Frank Chiachi, EVP of Creative Marketing, who oversees The Hive, an internal creative agency for the Walt Disney Company responsible for concepting, producing, and developing creative marketing across company brands. Oh, folks, are you seeing this yet? Helen Pock might be, could be, maybe unfireable. But she may also be undesirable, because now she and her department will report to Asad Ayaz, in a way giving a new way to get info to D'Amaro. The MO is to bring both creative teams under Chief Brand Officer Ayaz, and stems from a unifying and strengthening Disney storytelling effort across their many fan and consumer-facing platforms. That is word salad. And the word salad, what it really means to say to you is, there's a problem at Disney parks and cruises that needs to be fixed. And all of this stuff, including the announcement of how it's going to work and everything, all of this is to say something stinks at Disney parks, and they're on the brink of a real disaster. They're facing Universal Studios on multiple fronts, not just in Florida, but also in the UK. That'd be Europe. And so far, they don't have the ability to respond well. So they're restructuring. They're restructuring inside the future development of Disney parks. Now, that's interesting of itself. But what if we told you there's more? Folks, if we go to That Park Place, coming out today from Marvin Montanaro, Disney Parks boss Josh D'Amaro steps in for Bob Iger at a conference. It's a big one. Could he be the next Disney CEO? A new development has added fuel to the speculation that Disney Parks and Experiences boss Josh D'Amaro could be the next Disney CEO, replacing Bob Iger, which would be a big change because the betting markets are claiming that Dana Walden is the frontrunner, not by a little bit. The Disney company just made a move that could reshape the future of its leadership, and theme park fans aren't thrilled. Disney has announced that Josh D'Amaro, chairman of Disney Experiences, will represent the company at the Moffett-Nathanson Media, Internet, and Communications Conference on May 14th, 2025. It may sound routine, but for those watching the race to succeed Bob Iger as CEO, it's anything but. This is the same high-level financial and media event where Iger himself spoke in 2024. In 2023, then CFO Christine McCarthy, once seen as a potential successor, took the spotlight. Now in 2025, the baton has quietly been passed to tomorrow. So Bob Iger will not be speaking at this big investor conference. And at the same time that we're getting this, don't forget that out of Deadline, we're finding out that there's a restructuring at Disney parks and experiences. Is that restructuring to open a potential door so that tomorrow can move into the CEO position and there are people there who can competently respond to Universal Studios in a way that currently and in the past has not been happening? Jonas, I'll go to you first on this. What are your thoughts on Josh D'Amaro maybe at least now pulling up even with Dana Walden as someone who could be the next CEO of the company? Seems a little scary to me, given that I think he's had the worst tenure over the parks of anybody in the last 30 years.
Well, I think we're in a best of the worst situation right here. When you look at the operating income of the Walt Disney Company, Disney Parks accounts for 60% of the operating income. So Josh D'Amaro, very clearly, just from a numbers standpoint, he's the clear choice, other than the fact that Dana Walden, being a female television executive, is the clear choice.
Why can't they go external, Jonas? What's stopping them from getting an external candidate?
Because they're dumb. Because they like their own internal culture and they don't want someone coming in and shaking things up. I think that James Gorman is probably actually considering external candidates, but the problem then becomes finding someone who is qualified to run all of these different branches of the company that Bob Iger has put under his purview here. And it's a different thing to buy a company and then to be hired and to run 3 or 4 different companies. Bob Iger buying things that he's not qualified to run is a different matter than hiring someone that has to have the qualifications to run that. Asad Ayaz is an interesting one to me, and he's been making moves as a chief brand officer. There's some things that I can only assume are under his purview, like more D23 events in different areas. And I think they're trying to make D23 into a profit center in a more significant way and do a lot of those more often, as opposed to just being a fan event that they control. Also, we've seen a lot of incredible disasters in social media from the Walt Disney Company and its subsidiaries. Like, for instance, the responses that were supposedly in defense of Moses Ingram, an actress that most Star Wars fans don't even care about Moses Ingram, but there was an amplified social media campaign from the Lucasfilm and Star Wars accounts that tried to make it into a culture war issue, whether or not you liked the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. So in matters like that, and the Gina Carano lawsuit would be an excellent example, if they're trying to bring up the people in charge of those smaller Twitter handles up to say, hey, can you testify as to who was involved and whether or not you did this or that or the other thing? I think it's been a little bit more loose and ad-libbed by some of these smaller agencies. I think consolidating all of this might be a defensive move by Disney and marketing in general to try to control some of these weirder, smaller, dumber things that have been done by Twitter handles. Also to consolidate some of the more creative moves, like there are things like there's a 360 video of a Powerline concert that was just released on YouTube for celebration of a Goofy movie. Those are the kind of things that I would assume would be under the Hive or Yellow Jacket or whatever the name of these things are here. So they do need a consolidated brand officer. Putting that brand officer underneath Josh D'Amaro shows that the Disney brand is delineated here underneath the park. So maybe they are figuring out that the company is the parks, which why that would be a mystery to them at any point is mind-boggling here. I think that Asad Ayaz being under Josh D'Amaro is a sign that D'Amaro holds the keys to the kingdom of the Disney brand. And maybe quietly there's an acknowledgement from the corporate level that Fox and all of the Disney television stuff is not really the Disney brand. I don't know. Maybe that's me trying to read the tea leaves there.
Culture, do you think there's any chance this is a foreshadowing of changes behind the scenes in terms of who is seen as a potential CEO? Because Dana Walden she was basically it internally. The other candidates were way, way down the line. Maybe they're figuring out, these lawsuits, like CBS and ABC losing these massive lawsuits, They might be saying to themselves, we can't afford to have Kamala Harris bestie at the head of the House of Mouse during the Trump administration.
Think you're muted, Culture.
Sorry. Apparently, my Wave XLR decided to.
And you're a little bit low now.
Okay,
Sorry.
great. Fantastic. All right, let's try again. So the answer to that question, Pro, if I can be heard now, is that there's no surprise that Dana Walden got run out of that position, because the only benefit to having her in it would have been the affiliation with the administration. Now they have an adversarial situation with the administration, or one that is perceived anyway. And she already got her tryout and didn't do well. This is because there's two things could be considered here, Pro. They're giving him his tryout at this particular high-profile event.
That's at least, yes.
Yeah, and the most likely, the thing that you've suggested, I would agree. I think he's being aligned as the front runner. I don't think they could legitimately consider Alan Horn any longer, and I don't think anybody would be dumb enough to put Jimmy Pitaro in that position, because he's going to run that down just like he's run ESPN into the ground.
Well, as far as I know, Pitaro's out. Like that, he's completely out.
He's even said he's not interested. I think you mean Bergman, by the way.
Well, Bergman also, I think, nobody's really talking. It's literally, Bergman. I think now down to Dana and Josh, or an external.
Bergman and Alan and Alan work together. So Bergman and Horn work together. So regardless, I feel like you really only have one person left, and at least if you could stay internal. But this is where I agree with Jonas. I think Gorman's considering outside candidates, and I think they really should. But I think you're 100% right in identifying the fact that the theme parks are just now being realized as their source of revenue, which is silly. So, as usual, Jonas is always correct. So, I think everybody's
we're going to suffer every time you say that. We suffer for it.
Why?
When you say he's always correct,
it's true.
He gets to pick all of the cashew nuts, then all the flavors for the nuts and the tapioca that's in the back room.
Okay. First of all, I like cashews. Okay, and second, I just want the cracked walnuts. I don't want to have to crack them myself.
Oh well, we'll upgrade for you then. I didn't realize that.
I think we have to crack the nut on this story right here. And to break this down even further, remember, they just tested out Dana Walden at the Morgan Stanley Technology, Media, and Telecommunications Conference.
And that's actually what I said, probably when I was muted. So thank you for grabbing
it. Okay. Well,
how did that go, Vash? How did that go?
I mean, I heard she did well. I wasn't able to listen to the call myself because I wasn't able to find a copy of it online. But which was unfortunate. But I heard that she did okay. But we did hear right after that from various outlets.
The thing, though, Vash, isn't this the conference where she said some things that we find hard to believe about Disney's streaming success?
Yes. Yep. Yes. That was the same conference.
Could that have been seen by some out there that was a misstep and maybe open the door?
Perhaps. I didn't hear much in regards to her performance here. It was really about her association with Kamala Harris that we heard following this conference, and that the board was very, very uneasy about her relationship there and how it might put the company in the crosshairs of the Trump administration more than they already are right now. To have Josh Yamaro be tested in a similar fashion in this way, I think is very, very interesting. It shows that, just like Tom Staggs and Jay Rasulo, for example, where they were switched roles, you can see that Bob Iger is kind of doing a similar thing, or maybe even the board itself, doing a similar thing in which they're testing out these various internal candidates to see how they actually do under these certain segments and conditions, and giving Josh Yamaro more responsibility, putting more under his purview here, especially as in regards to the Disney brand, I think is very, very telling. The yellow shoes, by the way, they usually are very park specific. So that'd be something that would be under his purview anyway. But to incorporate the yellow shoes in more in a wider scope of the verticals of the company, including its brand, I think is very, very interesting.
So, I will echo a little bit of what Pro said here. Dana Walden, when she did that telecom conference, it was apparent to me that she doesn't understand the verticals of the Walt Disney Company in the way that she should. So
either that or she just misled.
Well, yeah, which would make her a perfect candidate for the CEO of the Walt Disney Company.
But that's the thing about Josh D'Amaro is Josh D'Amaro, a lot of people coming off of obviously the Bob Chapek era believe that this guy's a theme park guy. It's like, what does he really know about the company? Let's put aside the fact that most of the revenue comes from the theme parks anyway. So yes, you should have a theme park guy, maybe, or at least somebody with a theme park pedigree at the top of your organization. But the big knock against him is, does he understand entertainment? Does he understand the other verticals of the company? Because he has been born and bred in the theme park division. This is a way maybe to test him out in this regard. Go ahead, Culture.
No, I agree with you 100%. That's all. The only thing I would have to add to that is that it's inconsequential if you have good studio management. So believe me, the board can help him vet candidates to replace the current failures at Lucasfilm and Pixar and everything else. So, go ahead.
Or maybe I'm crazy here when I say this, but maybe you should have a guy or girl at the top who then has people who are capable of running those divisions without their direct supervision on a regular basis. I'm thinking about a certain CEO who says that he watches every single movie 4 to 5 times to give his insipid notes. His notes on every single production. The fact that company supposedly did so poorly because Bob Iger wasn't there holding everybody's hands is an indication that he was not a leader. He was a high-level micromanager. So having somebody who has to be intimately familiar with every aspect of the company as the CEO, I don't know if I truly believe that. It should be several companies that work well on their own and have a captain, a commodore above them. We don't need
Weird.
We don't need one captain for every ship jumping between the 5 of them. We need someone who is capable of leading those captains. Anyways, maybe that's crazy.
Well, let me get Erica in, because Erica, some people defend Josh D'Amaro, and we've had people do this and say that he's kind of forced to do the things that Bob Iger and these other people want him to do. He just has to do it, and he would act differently if he were CEO. But I'm looking at this and looking at the parks and saying, they've never been in a worse spot. I mean, the entire market share of Disney, the entire company is now at risk because Epic Universe might wipe out Walt Disney World, and Walt Disney World drives the entire company's success. Erica, looking at the parks, how do you assess Josh D'Amaro and what he's been up to?
I mean, anyone and everyone working at Disney is at the mercy of Iger, no matter what position you hold. So it just doesn't, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon either. So I have a hard time believing that there's going to be any good change in the company, regardless of who's CEO. Even with Iger being there or not being there, they still have to answer to those big corporate investors that seem to be a major driving force in all of the negatives that we're seeing in the company, like the messaging and the agendas that we don't like, that we keep screaming and hollering, stop doing it, stop doing it. It's a multifaceted problem with Disney, and they're more consumed with their little internal bubble and their little religious beliefs and pushing whatever it is they want to push. Forget the consumer, forget making money. And you know what? I don't feel sorry for them and the consequences that come.
Yeah, it's a strange thing, Erica.
Spend money, and I don't have to spend money on your product. You can force whatever you want down my throat. I don't have to watch it, and I don't have to put my money back into your product.
And the strange thing is, Disney finds itself in the place where the company is so complicated that it's hard to go to an external candidate, and yet the internal candidates, because of Bob Iger's management, are down to A, a handsome fellow who has watched the destruction of the parks, or B, a woman who was essentially put in her position because they thought the election would go the other way. Geez Louise, how bad can this be?
Unless D'Amaro, by some miracle, is like a silent, sleeping, somewhat middle of the road person, and maybe he'll surprise us. I don't know. But there again, anyone who's in that position is still up against a tidal wave of, being told what they can and can't do and under that pressure. So
Absolutely. Nolan, give us your thoughts as we get ready to wrap up this conversation about the potential next CEO of the Walt Disney Company.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't buy the narrative that Josh D'Amaro is actually like this great leader and Bob Iger's bringing him down. Because if you really are a great leader, you will find ways to make things happen without your boss being there. And it's going to be in little details. Even if he can't control the major stuff, he'll get great little things happening in the park. And he hasn't shown that either. He's more focused on like building and real estate type avenues or whatever the shoot off thing me and Vash covered recently on T3PO about the housing edition place. I don't think that anyone within that C-suite is going to go anywhere, and it's going to have to be a dark horse candidate at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Well, folks, we've come to the end of another video of pure excellence and fun. Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. That's what we hope you believe we've just done. And why should you believe it? Well, because we've done our very best to make it so, to be true, to be factual, and to do what the mainstream so-called access journalists simply won't. Folks, you can help share this out across the fruited plains of YouTube by clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And folks, as we get ready to say sayonara for now, we ask that you keep learning, keep growing, and wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep having fun.
Hey, Floral, guess what?
You put a fork in Pro's microwave again.
No, that was yesterday.
I don't know that what.
Oh, I've decided to give up on torturing Jonas.
What? Why? In the same way the cat sleeps like 20 hours a day, that was like your purpose.
I know, but I've decided there's bigger fish to fry.
Okay.
Like Lorne. I mean, think about it. Everybody loves him. He's a fan favorite, and frankly, he has almost no weaknesses I can find. Except that he's really smart.
So, you want to annoy the one panelist without a single flaw, because he's smart.
Yeah, like that winged statue at that fancy Paris museum thingy. I want to break the one thing that everyone loves most.
Right. So, kind of like the opposite of Rachel Zegler.
Yeah, exactly. And I get to see her all the time at family reunions anyway.
You get to see Rachel Zegler?
Yeah. I mean, she's a total troll. Lives under a bridge, harasses billy goats, the whole 9 yards.
It all makes sense now.
Speaking of which, maybe she'll get me... Okay, call her on my... I'm gonna call her and see if she'll be in the next Indiana Jones. She should be the next Indiana Jones. That'll totally destroy Lord. He loves Indiana Jones.
Oh, that's cruel.
Hey, Rach. I've got a cool idea for you that involves a whip and snakes.
I love that description. It's perfect.
I know, right? Weird, as we always say.